Do you know the one retirement account mistake that could quietly cost you tens of thousands of dollars in unnecessary taxes after the age of 60? Hello, everyone. I'm Daniel Robert Whitmore, and you're watching Senior Security with Daniel. I'm here to help you make smart decisions about retirement planning, so you can rest easy knowing your future is secure. Today, we're tackling a question that so many of my clients ask me, and the answer is more complicated than most people realize. What exactly should you do with your 401k when you retire? I know it sounds straightforward, but trust me, there are hidden costs and missed opportunities that could cost you tens of thousands of dollars if you get this wrong. So stick with me through this entire video, because I'm going to walk you through every option, every factor, and every trap you need to avoid. Let me start with a real story from my practice. Margaret came to me about 2 years ago, just as she was planning to leave her job after 35 years with the same company. She had about $450,000 in her 401k, and she was asking me the exact question you probably have right now. What do I do with this money? She assumed the answer was simple, but when we dug into the details, we found out she could have saved herself nearly $40,000 in taxes and fees over the next decade by making the right move. That's the kind of difference we're talking about here. So let's break this down into the three main options you're facing when you retire. First, you could simply leave your 401k right where it is, with your former employer's plan. Most companies do allow this, though there are some exceptions. The second option is to take the entire balance as a lump sum distribution, which means you cash out immediately. Now, I've got to warn you, this money is fully taxable, and it could push you into a much higher tax bracket. The third option, which I recommend most often, is to do a tax-free rollover into either a traditional or Roth IRA. If you have after-tax contributions in your 401k, you can split those. The basis goes to the Roth, and the earnings go to the traditional IRA. Now here's the key. Which of these three should you choose? That depends on 6 major factors. Let me walk you through each one. The first factor is cost. Now, I want you to understand something that most 401ks don't make very transparent. Your plan has fees. These include record-keeping fees, administrative fees, and the internal expense ratios of the mutual funds or investment options inside your 401k. When you add all of these together, some plans, especially smaller company plans, can cost you 2.5% or even more of your entire portfolio value every single year. That's a huge drain on your wealth over time. Here's what I tell my clients. Get the details on your plan's all-in costs. You may need to contact your HR department or ask for your summary plan description to find these numbers, but they're crucial. Once you have that number, compare it to what you'd pay in a traditional IRA. With an IRA, you control exactly what you invest in, and you can choose low-cost index funds or ETFs that might charge you only 1/10 of what you're paying now in your 401k. Margaret, the client I mentioned, discovered her plan was charging her nearly 2% annually. When she rolled over to an IRA with low-cost index funds at about 0.12%, that difference of nearly 2% per year added up to over $60,000 over the next 15 years. That's not a rounding error. That's a genuine opportunity cost. The second factor is control. Even if your 401k has reasonable costs, that doesn't mean you'll actually have the freedom to manage your money the way you want to. I've seen 401k plans where making even a simple transaction requires you to submit paperwork or navigate a clunky online system that feels like it was designed in 1995. Want to rebalance your portfolio? You might need to submit a form. Want to take a withdrawal? Same thing. Want to do a Roth conversion to take advantage of a lower tax year? Good luck navigating the process. Here's the psychological reality that matters. The harder something is to do, the less likely you are to actually do it. If managing your retirement money involves jumping through hoops every time you want to make a change, you're simply less likely to optimize your strategy over time. With a traditional or Roth IRA, on the other hand, you own that account outright. Most IRA custodians allow you to trade, rebalance, convert, and withdraw with just a few clicks. This ease of use often leads to better financial outcomes over the long term because you're actually able to implement your plan. The third factor is investment options. A 401k is a group plan, which means the investment menu is chosen by your employer. You might have 10 options, you might have 40 options, but you're limited to whatever the company decided to offer. If you don't see what you want, you simply can't invest in it. An IRA is different. You have thousands of investment options available to you. You could invest in individual stocks, thousands of mutual funds, ETFs, bonds, real estate investment trusts, virtually anything you can think of. For some people, this unlimited choice is empowering. For others, it's overwhelming. But here's the advantage. If your 401k's menu is weak, or if you want to build a very specific portfolio tailored to your situation, an IRA gives you that freedom. The fourth factor is consolidation. I can't tell you how many people I've met who have 5, 6, 7, or even 10 different 401ks scattered across multiple employers from their working life. They jump from job to job, leave their 401k behind each time, and eventually they've got money spread all over the place. Now you might think, well, what's the problem? The money is still growing. But when you retire and start taking income, which account do you withdraw from first? How do you make sure you're not overloaded with the same types of investments across multiple accounts? How do you coordinate your overall portfolio strategy when everything is fragmented? This is where consolidation comes in. By rolling your old 401ks into a single IRA, or even into your current employer's 401k if the plan allows it, you dramatically simplify your life. You can see your entire portfolio in one place. You can understand exactly how much you have and where it's all invested. You can make smart decisions about which accounts to tap for income and which to let keep growing. The math is simple. Less complexity equals better long-term outcomes. The fifth factor is ease of use and account management. This is related to control, but it deserves its own mention. When you need to update your beneficiaries, make quarterly rebalances, move money around, or perform basic maintenance on your account, how painful is that process? Most traditional IRAs and Roth IRAs are significantly easier to manage than most 401ks. You're dealing with technology designed for individual investors, not for administrators managing thousands of employees' accounts. This matters more than you'd think, because over a 20 or 30-year retirement, you'll be managing this account many, many times. The sixth and final factor is coordination. When you have multiple accounts, a traditional IRA, a Roth IRA, a brokerage account, maybe a 401k, you want to think about your portfolio as a whole. You might want to keep aggressive growth investments in your Roth, since gains can grow tax-free. Less volatile investments in your traditional IRA, which you'll eventually have to withdraw from as required minimum distributions. And use your brokerage account for tactical opportunities. But if your accounts are scattered across different institutions, this kind of sophisticated coordination becomes nearly impossible. Now, before you make any decision about rolling over your 401k, there are 3 special considerations I absolutely must tell you about. The first is about after-tax contributions and the mega backdoor Roth. If your company allowed you to make after-tax contributions to your 401k, contributions beyond the annual limit, where you've already paid income tax on that money, then when you roll over, that after-tax basis goes to a Roth IRA. But the earnings that accumulated on those contributions go to a traditional IRA. This matters enormously if you're planning to use the backdoor or mega backdoor Roth strategy in retirement. Make absolutely sure your former employer's HR department and your IRA custodian are coordinating this properly. It's a complex maneuver, and getting it wrong can mean losing significant tax-free growth opportunity. The second consideration is net unrealized appreciation, or NUA. If your 401k holds company stock, either because your employer matches in stock or because you voluntarily invested in it, and if that stock has appreciated, you might be eligible for a special tax treatment called NUA. Instead of rolling the stock into your IRA, which would defer the tax, you can distribute it directly to a taxable brokerage account. You'll pay ordinary income tax on the cost basis immediately, but any gains after that point are taxed at favorable long-term capital gains rates. For someone with significant company stock holdings, NUA can save tens of thousands in taxes. But you've got to plan for it carefully, because if you blindly roll everything into your IRA, you lose this opportunity permanently. The third consideration is the rule of 55. If you retire in the year you turn 55 or later, you have a special exemption. You can withdraw money from your 401k penalty-free before age 59 and a half. This is huge if you're retiring early. If you roll all your money into an IRA, you lose this advantage because IRAs have a 10% penalty for withdrawals before 59 and a half. So if you're planning to retire before 59 and a half, you might actually want to keep some of your money in your 401k just to access it penalty-free while you bridge the gap to when you can tap your IRAs. Let me tell you about Marcus, another real client of mine. He was a manufacturing manager who retired at 57. He had a 401k of about $250,000 and another $100,000 in his IRA. Without the rule of 55, he would have had to leave his job income untouched for 2.5 more years, or face a devastating 10% penalty on early withdrawals. But because he left his 401k where it was and used it as his income source for the first 30 months, he was able to bridge to age 59 and a half, after which he could access his IRA and other accounts without any penalty at all. That single decision to understand and use the rule of 55 probably saved him $15,000 to $20,000 in penalties and allowed him to retire on his own timeline. So let's bring it all together. Here's my framework for deciding what to do with your 401k. First, gather the data. Find out the all-in cost of your 401k plan and compare it to what you'd pay in an IRA. Second, assess your situation. Are you retiring before or after age 55? Do you have company stock with big gains? Do you have after-tax contributions? These special circumstances matter. Third, think about your personality. Are you someone who wants to be hands-on with your investments and research different options? If so, an IRA is probably better. Or are you someone who prefers to have a vetted menu of choices and doesn't want to think about investing? Then staying in a well-constructed 401k might serve you better. Fourth, consider your overall financial picture. Where else do you have money? How does this 401k fit into your complete retirement income strategy? Are you consolidating accounts, or does this 401k fit a particular role? Here's what I've learned after 20 years in financial advising. Most people, in most situations, are better off rolling their 401ks into traditional or Roth IRAs. The lower costs, the greater control, the ease of use, and the ability to consolidate accounts typically outweigh the advantages of staying put. But most people is not the same as you. Your specific circumstances matter, and that's why it's worth taking the time to think this through carefully. The worst decision you can make is a hasty one. Don't assume the answer is obvious. Don't let inertia keep your money in an expensive 401k just because moving it seems like a hassle. And don't blindly take a lump sum distribution without understanding the tax consequences. This is one of the most important financial decisions you'll make in retirement. A few hours of research now and a conversation with a qualified financial advisor or tax professional could save you tens of thousands of dollars over the next 20 or 30 years. If you found this helpful, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Share it with friends and family who are facing this same decision. And if you have questions about your specific situation, reach out. I'm here to help you make the right choice for you and your family. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.